After part two.
All right. Thank you all for being here. We're super excited to have Peggy Brannigan here to speak with you all and folks online. We met Peggy, 3 years ago now?
Yes.
Chris Boone introduced us, if anyone remembers old Dean Chris Boone. And she's been so gracious to come back and present to students while she's in town. She lives in San Jose, so she flew out here to speak with you all. So yeah, we'll do some quick intros and I'll just kind of turn it over to you if you want to do it first.
Great. Okay, so yeah, first of all, just so you know who you're spending the next hour with, and I'm so excited to see all of you. So my career, most of it has been in the field of environmental sustainability, but when I started, that wasn't even a thing. Like I kind of grew up and grew with the whole industry. And I spent all of my time in corporate sustainability. So most of what I share with you will be, based on the 8 years that I spent creating and growing LinkedIn's sustainability program. And then afterward, 2 years ago, I left LinkedIn to become the board chair for the Business Council on Climate Change, BC3. And that's a coalition of 35 companies, including LinkedIn, Salesforce, Google, Workday. About half of them are tech, and the other half are Visa, Dolby, other companies. But what they have in common is they have made public climate pledges, and now their teams have to figure out how the heck they're going to do it. And so that was my job. So I'll share what I know from that perspective, but also the other two boards that I'm on now are nonprofits, pure nonprofits that are focused on helping individuals with going green in their own lives, and then one that's related to preserving biodiversity and protecting the Aboriginal population in Australia. And so happy to talk about any of those things. But anyway, so that's who you're going to hear from, and take it all with a grain of salt. You know a lot of things that I don't know. So I'm looking forward to the Q&A when we can have more of a conversation. What I thought we would do first is just have you very quickly tell me your name and what your program is you're studying and what year you are. And that way I have a better sense of how to kind of, focus my thoughts. So hello, we've already met.
I'm Miguel.
Yeah.
I'm a second year Ocean Futures and Geographic Information Science major.
Very cool.
I'm Layla. I am in the last semester of the Masters of Sustainability Solutions program.
Nice.
Cute. Hi, my name is Julia Unkovsky, and I'm also in my last semester of the Sustainability Solutions Masters program.
Okay.
My name is Dior, and I'm in the same stuff.
We're all in the same company.
Same. That's why you came in together. Okay.
Eloise, I'm a first year sustainability major.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Max. I'm a sophomore economics major.
Okay. Great. You might have put a question.
Oh,
There was a question about business. And I'm really excited about that. Okay.
I'm Elizabeth and I'm an Ocean Futures major. I'm a first year and I'm also minoring in communication.
Nice.
My name is Lillian. I'm a freshman studying sustainability.
Okay. And did anybody in the chat? I know there's some people online. We're totally aware that you're here and we're so grateful. Don't want to ignore you. So I see sustainability major, sophomore. Okay. Applied. This is testing my eyesight. I just went to the eye doctor. Do you want to read something?
Yeah, second to last semester of the Master of Sustainability Leadership program.
Yeah. Come on in.
Sustainable food systems.
Yay. Love that.
Urban planning.
Okay.
A lot of sustainability leadership.
Yeah. I wanted to do this. Hi, ladies, come on in. And while you're getting seated, tell us what year you are and what you're studying.
Okay. I am Sienna Baker. I'm a sophomore and I'm studying sustainability and conservation biology and ecology.
Okay. That's
Hi, I'm Tori. I'm a sophomore studying sustainability. A minor function.
okay. So one thing that illustrates is just how broad the field is, right? I mean, technically the umbrella of sustainability includes 3 pillars. So it's environmental sustainability, societal sustainability, and economic sustainability. And that's where the social impact and the environmental, nexus happens. But it's just delightful to hear all the different areas of focus that you guys are taking. And I will tell you one more thing about my bio. I have an MBA, and my entree into sustainability was from the business aspect. So I worked at Wells Fargo Bank for 8 years before I pivoted into sustainability, and I was all about accounting, financial statements, income statements, balance sheets, cash flows. So happy to talk to you about how that was my entree in. Everybody has to have sort of knowledge of sustainability, but then sort of some other superpower they're going to apply. And we'll talk about that a little more. So I'm going to go next to a slide that talks about our agenda, but we can flex this as we go along because maybe some of those topics aren't as important to you and others are. But this is what I wanted to share with you today. First of all, I'm going to give you a big picture view of what does the job market look like out there. Okay, what's the demand for people with what I'll call green skills, which is you. And then kind of help you think about refining your goals. Because as I said, this is a big, wide umbrella, but it helps to have a sharper focus on your skills, what you can bring to the table for your employers. Then we're going to talk about your LinkedIn profile. And sometimes when I do this, I actually have people pair up and look at each other's profiles and, kind of judge it. We maybe have time to do that at the end. But we're sort of a hybrid group here with half the audience is remote. So I think what I'll do is share with you the pro tips, and then you find somebody afterward to actually look at the list and think about, yeah. And when I put this deck together, I realized I hadn't implemented some of them on my own profile, so I had to upgrade mine too. Okay, then we're going to talk about applying for jobs on LinkedIn and how you can communicate on LinkedIn effectively and how you can expand your network on LinkedIn. Today, it's all about LinkedIn. I know there are other social media platforms, but for maybe 8 years running, LinkedIn has always been rated by the public as the most trusted social media platform. And it's also the largest community online of professionals. And when you get on there, it's a different flavor than Instagram or TikTok. It's got its own purpose. So that's our focus today. Okay? All right. So let's first talk about what is the demand out there. And I'm going to ask each of you, if you haven't seen this yet, it came out at the very end, November of 2025. You can go to LinkedIn, just Google LinkedIn Economic Graph or Green Skills Report and download it, because this is something that's published annually by LinkedIn, and it gives you the best view at a high level of green skills and how those are changing, what's in demand now, what's not as in demand, green jobs, where those are emerging geographically and by industry, and green talent, what's happening to all you guys when you put yourself out there in the marketplace to get a job. And I'm just it's basically, LinkedIn has 1 billion members. It's all of you probably. Is there anybody here that doesn't have a LinkedIn profile? Which is okay, but it would be surprising because everybody does. And it's 30 million job postings at any given time. And so it's really real-time data about people's careers and employer demand and all of that. I'll give you some definitions first. Green skills, the way we define this is skills that can be applied to tackle environmental, planetary problems, pollution, climate change, etc. So it's how do we clean up, adaptation, mitigation, resilience, building. So, but it can be everything from green skills to advocate in the court system, earth justice, to the person at EPA, the old EPA, who's going to go out and, check on clean air, clean water, to somebody who is using social media, but using it to promote green issues. So it's very broad. Green jobs are jobs that exist primarily to promote sustainability. Okay. And then green talent is people like you that have 1, 2, or more green skills. So just keep that in mind, and I'm going to just paint for you as of the end of last year, what did it look like out there? Okay, and this is global, but some of it is US based too. So here's the good news. Okay, we're going to start with some good news for you because it's rough out there right now, right? But as of last November, when they looked at all the hiring that was happening on LinkedIn, people who had what we call green talent, green skills, were getting hired at a 46% higher rate than others. Now, it's a statistic across a population. So that doesn't mean for you for sure that's going to be the case, but it's encouraging, right? And we'll talk a little bit more about why do we think that is. All right, this is, TLDR, right? You're going to get the deck. You can look at this later, but big picture, if you start thinking like, well, if I want to narrow this down by industry, where might I want to focus? So just to call out, the one at the very top, utilities, which includes renewable energy, okay, is the industry with the highest concentration of green talent. That means already people working in that field, there's a big portion of them that have green skills. But then I want to point you toward like one of the last ones down there, which is financial services. It's second to the bottom, has a very low share of its hires that are green talent. You have to change that, you guys. Max, maybe you, because that industry is so crucial for the whole transition to a green economy. We need green bonds. We need green investment. We need green power purchase agreements. We need banks to shift over their portfolios away from fossil fuels to clean tech. So this just gives you a snapshot, how many green hires they had in 2025 in the middle column, and then what's the concentration. So just interesting for you to see big picture. And then probably no surprise, but tech and media has the highest annual growth of share of workers with green skills. Okay, and that's my industry, right? And part of that is because of AI, and we're going to talk about that too. But other industries you could consider that have a higher green hiring rate right now are retail, transportation, financial services, thankfully, and then food. All right. Now, I included these this year in the presentation because it's more and more relevant. So green talent, that's you. If you look at you, what are the skills in AI that you guys are building most quickly? And I know that ASU has kind of pivoted, and this year they're saying, okay, now, yes, we do want you to pay attention to AI. We want you to skill up, because if we can't help manage and steer the ship, we're going to get run over. And we have to understand, oops, I don't know why that happened. You have any idea why that happened? There we go. Okay. Weird. Okay. So we'll go here now. So yeah, it's weird. I'm not doing a thing, I promise. Okay, responsible AI, LangChain, which is a platform that is for agentic AI. So people are skilling up on that, large language models, and ChatGPT. So how many of you have taken a class or are using AI at all? Yeah, probably all of us, right? And it's a hugely complex thing because there are very serious environmental and ethical issues with AI. And at the same time, it has potential to tackle planetary problems at a scale and a pace that we couldn't even imagine before. So we're in the thick of it. It's happening. We have to understand. So anyway, that's how you guys are skilling up in that area. And then we have to look at the other side too. People who are AI talent. What are the green skills that they're growing most quickly? Not surprisingly, energy efficiency, maintenance, repair, things like circularity, because those data centers that have the AI capable computers, those computers are just burning energy and heat, and they're having to retire the computers at a much higher rate. So all the circularity, how can we salvage the part? So there's a whole bunch of overlap between our goals and their goals. And again, you'll have this deck. But so what we're seeing in the data from LinkedIn is that in traditional jobs, more and more when we look at the job requirements, the employers are asking for green skills in the candidates that they're looking to hire. And so it might be obvious, like somebody mentioned engineer, if you say like project engineer, it might be obvious why you'd want somebody with green skills. But let's look at another one like sales. Why would an employer hiring for sales? Well, I can tell you because I had someone on my team who helped our sales team convince customers that we were actually, you know, a responsible partner, a vendor that they would want to buy from because we had legit commitments to sustainability, and you know, we could help salespeople close the deal because we had evidence that we were investing. And it might be also in sales why that's appearing more and more is that the clean tech companies and other companies that are selling Impossible Meat or, you know, solar panels or whatever, they need salespeople who can articulate the sustainability aspect of that. So one of the things I always suggest is that you don't just look for jobs with my title. My title at LinkedIn was Global Sustainability Director, right? And most of the big companies have someone in that role, but there aren't that many big companies or that many roles. So often if you can go into a traditional role, but you do that job, always prioritizing sustainability, that's, you know, more powerful in a way. Like I never built a big central team. I was telling them after I had my central team doing our greenhouse gas accounting and all of that, I hired people into our real estate team, our purchasing team who had those functional skills, but they were going to be, you know, their performance was based on how much they were doing those in a green way. So it's just another way to think about your job opportunities if you have some other functional talent. So, and again, in terms of refining your target, when you go on LinkedIn or Indeed or whatever, and you're looking for your job, you can either look for a traditional role, like I just mentioned. Maybe you come into this knowing about purchasing or whatever. But you want to do that in a company whose main product is green, right? So it doesn't really matter what your function is. If you're helping that company to succeed, you're doing green work. And it can be really, you could work for ChargePoint or, you know, there's Measurable. And these are actual jobs I clipped from the LinkedIn feed a while back. Or you could have a green role in a traditional company, which is what I had. Be the environmental manager for a company. So those are two ways to think about it. All right, so that's kind of the big picture. I hope it's a little encouraging for you because I know that especially if you're just graduating out, it's a little bit daunting. But how many of you are active on LinkedIn right now? You know, you're just on the cusp of you're going to find it more and more useful. But I'm going to try to convince you by the end of this that you're going to spend a little more time, not necessarily on the job matching piece, but on the networking piece and all the resources they have on there to do research, take LinkedIn learning classes, all of that stuff that could also be helpful. But it starts with your profile, okay? And, you know, how would somebody tell me, how do you think LinkedIn, your profile on LinkedIn is different than your resume? Like, what are some ways that it's different? Well, posting is a different activity, but I'm just talking about the face you show to the world with your profile. How is that different than how you show the world in a resume that you're going to send out? Go ahead. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, personally, for me, I feel like my LinkedIn is a lot more like representative of who I am as a person outside of just professional experiences. I try to show a bit more of my personality. I feel like my resume is pretty just face value, academic, professional experience, the facts.
Yeah.
On my LinkedIn, I try to, put a fun picture here and there.
It's a little more personal. That is exactly one of the words I was looking for. What else? Anybody else have no thought? How is it different? Yeah, Max.
I don't know. I feel like with a resume,
Yeah.
kind of just more like straightforward to the point. You know, it's like kind of looks like your stats.
Yes.
Like better words.
Yes.
While your LinkedIn, it's like it can like I guess list your stats too, but it's more in a way where it's like, hey, you can kind of like make it your own. You can kind of make it like fun in a way. Like resume is just like straightforward template.
Yeah.
While your LinkedIn can make it whatever you want.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yes.
I was gonna say also the resume kind of just shows what you've done. I guess you can write stuff that you've done, but your LinkedIn like really shows things that you're doing in real time.
There you go. So you can upload stuff, right? You can upload a PowerPoint. You can upload an article. If you wrote an article, you can upload, a flyer. Videos get a lot of traction, right? You can provide evidence that's interactive. So it's interactive. So those are the main, the main positives. The one big thing that's different, that's a limiting factor is you only get one face to show to the world. You only have one LinkedIn profile, right? And so you can't tailor it like a resume. If you're applying for one job, you're going to change some of the wording. If you apply for another job, you're going to change something, emphasize different things. You can't do that on LinkedIn. It's your window. It's saying, hey, world, here I am. I'm great. So that, but it's interactive. You can have conversation. So you go much more detail. So yeah, that's exactly right. All right, so let's talk about the first thing people are going to see with your profile. It's your picture and your headline, right? So your photo, I'll just tell you some of the best practices that the LinkedIn team would say, and then you can kind of look at yours and see. Your face should take up 2/3. You should be dressed in an outfit that looks like the job you want, okay? So professional. You should be smiling or at least welcoming, like someone that they might want to work with, Some people have like their whole body in action. It's interesting, but it's really not as effective it's not as doesn't draw people in as much. So and you don't wear a shirt like this. Like you have a good, something that's like a plain color is better because you don't want to distract. And the background should be kind of it could be blank because you're also going to set up a banner. So how many of you have set up a banner behind your photo? Okay, I'm not surprised. You guys are so sharp. Okay, and you can even take that to a higher level by making that banner very personal. So we'll talk about that and show some examples, but that's awesome. And then the headline, all right? If they only see and remember that, are you sure that you're telling them the key things you want them to know about you? So just do a sanity check on that. And keywords are important for the AI and the algorithms. All right, so just think about that. You'll have this deck. All right, now here's my favorite part to talk about, which is the about section. And you guys have already nailed this. You are not going to just put in this about section a repeat of your chronological resume, right? They've got that down below in your experience section. No, this is where you can really shine. And you want to write in the first person, which probably most of you already are. You don't say Peggy Brannigan is, you say I am. Let me introduce you to me. And a good model, they suggest 3 paragraphs. And the first one is who you are, what you care about, what's your purpose, what's your mission. And then the second paragraph is what have you achieved? Not everything, just, the highlights. And then the third piece is like what might not be in your resume, but it's interesting about you. And then a call to action of some type. Like if you're really interested in environmental justice, you might say, if you feel like I do about these things, reach out to me on LinkedIn. Let's start or check out my website or, start that interaction. But the key thing is it has to be at least 40 words in order to be discoverable. And probably all of yours already are, but sometimes I come across people and it's not. And then they're missing an opportunity there. Yes.
The about section in total should be 40 words?
Yeah.
Or each
At least, right. I've seen some where it's just like 3 sentences, but I'm like, they're not gonna find that. Yeah. Okay, let's keep going here. So now it is personal. So is it late, Leila?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, and all of you kind of, Max is saying it's gonna be a little fun. So who are you? It's personal. I built a team. I had 7 people, and then I also had allies across the company. And I have picked out 3 of them who I think have pretty interesting about sections. So, does somebody want to read the first one? And the person talking is my deputy, Dana Jennings, and I'm going to show you the rest of her in a minute. But if somebody could just read that out, yeah, go ahead.
I believe we can solve climate change in this generation, and I have dedicated my career to helping make this reality. My special contribution lies in creating strategy, managing programs, and motivating others to join, all while having fun.
Yeah, so you get a really clear idea who she is, what she's about. Great. And she's amazing. You guys would love her. All right, who wants to read Sarah Steinberg's? She's the LinkedIn head of global public policy. So that's her interest in sustainability. Max.
How can we ensure that technology creates opportunities for everyone, not just a select few? This question fuels my career and drives my commitment to building a fairer, more inclusive global economy. At LinkedIn, I lead global public policy partnerships to shape policies. Sarah Steinberg.
And she's awesome. We went to COP 20 whatever together. And she walks the talk. She's really amazing. Okay. So who wants to read the last one? This is Kay Val in LinkedIn Social Impact. And he puts it all right out there, man. Who wants to read that one? Go
I can
ahead.
read it.
Yeah.
I am a proud Christian Black first generation professional born and raised in the projects of Queens, New York City. My mandate is to amplify and support the justice work and care already effectively being led by those directly in the community.
Okay. And I partnered with him he was in the social impact or philanthropy team. So you get a really good sense. It's so different from a resume, right? Go ahead.
Are these the first sentences in the About Me section?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So it's that first paragraph. Who am I? What fuels me? What's my passion? What's my mission? And you'll have the deck. And then you'll see from this next slide, I actually link into each of them. So there's Sarah, the policy person. There's Kay Val in the middle. There's Dana. And then there's two others that I really like too, Lauren Jolda and Ephraim Beiser. So you can check those out. But what you'll see is they have good photos, right? Good banners. You don't see that. And then they've uploaded a ton of stuff, evidence of what they've done in their careers. So they're definitely good examples. And, I apologize. They're all people I worked with. I didn't spread a wider net, but I just felt like these were really solid examples. Okay. Apply for the job now and communicate. So you've looked at the landscape, you've thought about industries, you've thought about functions, you've thought about what's my superpower, what am I bringing to the table? You've upgraded your LinkedIn profile. Now you're actually going to try to apply for the job, right? So how many of you have used job alerts or open to work? They're available for you, just saying. I actually set up a job alert for my daughter when she was she's a veterinarian, and so I was getting job alerts for a while just in case she was missing them. But they're very effective, and you can turn them on and off. You can, no one else will see that you have a job alert on, right? It's your option. And then the open to work, what's your feeling about that, folks? How do you guys think about the open to work? It's that, if you look at the LinkedIn photo, it's like this little arc here that's green that says, I'm open to work. What are your thoughts? Do you like that option, or are you afraid of that option? And there's no right or wrong answer. It's whatever you're feeling. Thoughts? Yes.
I would say I'm a little afraid to use it.
Mhm.
I think it's just having it over my headshot looks a little, I guess, silly.
Okay, silly. Okay. It's your choice, but I will tell you, look at the stat on the screen. If you have open to work photo frame on, you'll get 40% more in-mails from recruiters. And that's because you're their target audience. If a recruiter is looking for talent, you've made it easier for them to find you, right? So it's just something to think about. Maybe not have it on all the time, right? But if you're seriously graduating and you're open, you have nothing to be ashamed of. It's natural that you have finished this program. You're going to be looking for work. So I would just tell you, don't be so afraid of it, And then another nice halo is the purple one that says I'm hiring, right? So be on the lookout for those.
Sorry, someone in
Yeah.
the chat said, I would say I'm afraid to use it knowing I have several coworkers and recruiters I'm connected with. Don't want to jeopardize my current position.
Yeah, so that's fair. And there'll be times when it doesn't feel appropriate. And I have another slide that talks to you about how you can signal privately to a particular employer without anybody else knowing. But yeah, that's legit. Obviously, it has situational. Just don't want you to always be afraid of that. Okay, so then you want to target the most promising employers, right? And I know you guys have an amazing career center here, so this is just take it for what it's worth. But there's a ton of information about the companies on LinkedIn. You can go to their websites as well, but what's interesting on LinkedIn, you can follow them. And then when they have big announcements like a product launch or something, you're going to know about that, you know, you'll get informed about that. And then you can also read what employees are posting in their life section. Okay, I don't know if you guys, so if you see the screenshot there, Unilever, amazing company. We hired their purchasing manager to be LinkedIn's sustainable purchasing manager, Victoria Adatuye. So under Paul Pullman, they were doing amazing things. But anyway, so I picked that as an example. So under the life section, you can go in and employees post about what life is like working there. So it gives you a nice, but here's what I would say to the person in the chat. You can signal interest in working with them. So if you have a list of employees you know you're interested in, but you don't want to go full-blown public with the halo, go to that spot and on the Unilever company page, and you see that button that says I'm interested, and it will, you're 2 times as likely to get a message from a recruiter for that company. So just a thought. Okay, and then, you know, you probably get tired of hearing it's all about connections, because it's not all about connections. If you know someone and they could help you get a job, but you're not qualified, it's not going to work. But if you're ready to show up, you've got the skills, you've got the passion, what's going to separate you out from the rest of the pile of candidates oftentimes is going to be who you know. You're 7 times more likely to get the job. And that's why I'm going to spend a little time here. We'll talk about networking. But here's, you know, an example, right? You want to request a referral, right? If you might find you want to work at a company and you found a job listing from them. You want to find someone who works at that company who could be your helper inside, right? And it's probably not going to be someone in your tier 1 connections, like someone in your family. It's not likely that they know someone there, but they're going to know someone in their connections, right? So it's like tier 2 and tier 3. So what you want to do, you know, when you reach out, you can ask that person that you found that's connected somehow to you. I found this job listing. Here's why I'm qualified. I'm super excited. Could you please help me to, you know, elevate this to the hiring manager? And again, we don't have time to delve into all the wording on these slides, but it actually gives you like verbiage you could use. Recommendations are a little bit different. And you guys know that, right? So referrals for a particular job, you've already found a listing. Recommendation is just a general like thumbs up for you, testimonial, and those are nice to have on LinkedIn. And you can ask people to write them. You can actually draft them, and then just ask them to, you know, post it. So what do you know how to ask somebody for a recommendation on LinkedIn? Do you know how you actually do that? Does anybody? Okay, super easy. So you say you want to work at Unilever. Sorry, no. Say you want one of your intern managers. You did an internship and you have a manager there who really liked you. You go to that person's LinkedIn profile, and there is a area where it'll say request a recommendation. You just click on that, and he or she is going to get a message from you saying, could you please write a recommendation? And you can say, I'll provide you with a draft report, you know, and make it really easy. So that's something you can start doing now, even if you're not, you know, planning to apply for a job right now. While the memory's still warm in your, you know, intern manager or your former manager or your professor, get those recommendations logged and uploaded onto your LinkedIn profile. All right. And then I think you mentioned, Miguel, you mentioned posts.
Yes.
Is that your name, Miguel?
Yes.
Okay, you mentioned posts. Okay, so just one. So how many of you have posted on LinkedIn? Okay, that's pretty good. It's scary. I was scared the first time I pushed press, you know, pressed post, publish. Yeah. And you can repost stuff, and that's a little bit easier way to get started. Just add your opinion. But at a certain point, you're going to want to start posting things. Why? Why do you guys think you should post things? Why is that helpful?
Because I feel like the more experience, like the better you could get out there, and like the more that they can know more about you, the more you have.
Yeah. So part of it is to build your brand, not in a crass way, but just to help make it easier for people to know you, right? And what you care about. Yeah.
I think also the exposure part, because I feel like if you're just dormant on LinkedIn, some people might forget that you're on there. So what if you're posting, reposting, active on there, and your name pops up with other people's feeds, it reminds you that, oh, like this is someone who's on LinkedIn,
Right.
and who exists.
Yeah, someone who, and even more than that, there's a great book. It's called Give and Take. It's by Adam Grant. He's written several other books too, bestsellers, but this one he used LinkedIn data as a big part of his proving his hypothesis that in general, the people who succeed are people who are givers, not takers. And we can all think of examples where that's the opposite is true, right? Like the terrible person gets the promotion. But in general, over time, he watched people's, he looked at mega data, right? Anonymized, and people who were posting useful posts that were helpful to other people in their industry or other people in their cohorts. They were the ones who got more support from the community. And so that's why I always tell people, you want to go into this not just thinking about how could this post help me get a job, but how can I start to be someone in my industry, in my function, that is helping everybody in this group move forward better together, right? Like really, like we're better together. We can move faster. We can be more effectively. I have things I've learned that might be useful to the audience I'm going to reach. And if you have that mindset, it makes it less scary to push publish. So the formula that they suggest is it's always threes, right? So number one, lead with the strong hook. Could be a question, could be a statement, it could be an interesting fact, it depends. But something to get their attention. And then you have to share your unique perspective. Couple sentences on what your take is on whatever this is. And then you want to invite your audience to engage. That's the call to action. Okay, and then just a couple other pro tips here. Yeah, you want it to go more viral, right? Because that's the whole point. You want people to see it and learn and act. So hashtags are great. And what happens when you put a hashtag in there, it goes to your network, right? Whoever you're connected with on LinkedIn, but it also goes to any of the groups that you've hashtagged. And if anybody does a keyword search and it's in your hashtag, it's going to go to them as well. And then you want to tag people and organizations. They'll get a message saying, hey, you got tagged, and you guys get these, right? The thing that gets the most traction is video, because we're all lazy and it's just easier and it's entertaining, right? So you'll see more and more people instead of text, they're like, watch this video and they'll give. So text is fine though, but you have to have some visual in there, a photo, a graphic, a video. And then how to keep it going is if somebody likes it, or has a comment, reply to that and keep the conversation going. All right, I got to move a little faster here. Okay, and then as I mentioned, you may not be in the job hunt right now, but you can do a lot to improve your marketability and your employability. One of the best things I got to do, in addition to taking care of our greenhouse gases and our water use and our green building certifications, all those physical things, is I got to work with the product team. Because any corporate sustainability leader, they have two jobs. One is the company footprint, but the other is the company's unique ability to help its users go green. So for me, I would say, okay, LinkedIn has a platform. We have a whole bunch of data. We have a LinkedIn learning program. We have publishing. How can I help all the LinkedIn users use all those tools to go green and make the world greener? So one of the things I did is I worked with the head of product for LinkedIn Learning, and we have 200 courses now. They don't in any way replace the sustainability degree program you're in, but they're super helpful. There's some on AI and sustainability that will give you the vocabulary and basic knowledge, some on sustainable sourcing. I mean, every topic, the business value of action on climate. So if you got to talk to the CFO, how can you talk to him in language he'll understand? ESG, net zero architecture. So you get the idea. So check it out while you're immersed in your own classes right now, but it's there for you.
Quick question, sorry. Someone asked, is there tagging etiquette when you're tagging companies or?
It should be kind of obvious to the person you're tagging why they're getting tagged, and it's better if you have some relationship with them. So that's what I would say. It shouldn't just come out of the blue. But what's nice then is if they like it, then that goes to their network, right? Or if they comment. So yeah, you don't want to be spamming people. Okay. So let's talk a little more about networking. And how many of you, when you hear the word networking, it's like a mainly negative gut reaction? It's okay. Okay. Or, and it's like, it's kind of, so what I want you to do is think about your network as your friends and allies, people who you can help and people who can be helpful to you. And, it's not the like yucky networking where you go at a cocktail party and you just zero in on the person that can help you and you fake that you are interested in what they're talking about. So this is not at all that. It's like the power of community. And I say that sincerely, like I, over the years, have followed people who are thought leaders and then gotten to know them. And we've really shared helpful information with each other. And I've helped them get jobs. They've helped me find people, it's like a legitimate online community that's, if you approach it that way, it's really amazing. So, let's first of all talk about, well, what does that network look like? So this is what I talked to you about before. So the picture, you're in the middle of that spider web. And the people right in that tier 1 right around you, that's going to be your family, your best friend. And of course, you want to help them. They want to help you, but they're not always connected to the people or the jobs or the skills, but they are connected to people that are. And so if you look at that, what we know from a study they did, and it's linked in here, check out the research on strength of weak ties. People who are actually going to help you get your jobs and, just build your sustainability career are going to be your tier 2 and 3 networks, connections. And so I would recommend to you to just look at that link and go to that report because it's a little bit surprising, but it's true, statistically true. All right. How many of you wondered about followers versus connections? Okay. So here's the difference. Okay. Connections are tighter. All right. We'll just start from the top. Anybody can follow you. You can follow anybody. Right. They don't need to approve you. You don't need to approve them. What happens if you're following someone? You can't send direct connections to followers, and they can't send direct messages unless they've enabled it. You like to have a lot of followers because every time you post, they're going to see it in their feed because they're following you, right? No limit to how many followers you can have. I think I have 12,000, which I love because I'm always publishing stuff about, hey, go green, do this, and please join the cause. Connections are different. You have to accept somebody's connection request and they have to accept yours. So always, if you're asking somebody to connect with you, always write that note that goes along with it. Hey, I'm so happy I met you today at the ASU event. I'm interested in, following up. You can send direct messages to your connections without any restrictions. Automatically, anytime one of your connections posts, it goes in your feed. So I don't want 12,000 connections because, oh my God, I'd be deluged, So I'm more careful about who I let be a connection. And then you can only have 30,000 first-degree connections, which I don't think any of us in this room are in danger of. I'm certainly not. I'm not even halfway there. Anyway, it's just good to know. That's how that works. Yes.
If I remember right, there's a limit to the amount of notes that you can send to connections with the request.
Oh, it
if
might
you don't pay for
if you're not in premium. That's possible. Because I worked at LinkedIn, I would just automatically. So that you probably know better than I do about that. Yeah, and I would say premium is a very good investment when you're in the job search. It really helps there, I would say. And it unlocks for free the LinkedIn Learning courses and all that too. But yeah, just use your judgment on that.
Okay, sorry. No,
Yeah, that's okay.
So what would you say is the best amount of connections to have as a university student?
Oh gosh, there's no right answer, you know. I dig. Do you guys have thoughts about that? Don't feel, insecure if you don't have that many connections now. I just would tell you that connecting with people and building that community, it's not just going to help with your job. I mean, there have been times in my corporate sustainability career where it was so hard, where I just felt like I was swimming upstream, and my connections, people I could reach out to and say, hey, you're in a similar role. How are you dealing with this? It's so helpful. And just thought leaders too, it's that incoming into your feed that it's super, that you wouldn't necessarily see otherwise. So you want to welcome connections, for those reasons. But you just don't probably want 30,000 of them. But wherever you're starting, that's a great start. And then just start to be more proactive about connecting. Yeah.
I did another LinkedIn workshop with or that was hosted by my dorm with the CAs. And I remember one CA told me to literally just make as many connections as you possibly can just to max out the 500 plus connections on your profile.
I mean, I think that 500 is great, but I think I would be a little more thoughtful. I like followers. And so what I did, there's a way you can go into your profile settings, and the default, when it says, do you want to connect with them or follow them? The default is you're asking people, do you want to follow me? And so I did that. And then more intentionally, when people reach out and say, can I connect with you? So yeah, just play around with it and see, what's the right answer for you isn't necessarily the same as somebody else. But and again, I'm here because I know LinkedIn. There are other avenues for you that I can't speak to you about. So this is all through a very biased filter of, I love LinkedIn. So, that you have to use that judgment too. All right, there are communities on LinkedIn, there are groups, and these are some of them. Open Door Climate is really interesting. I don't know if any of you guys have run into that. Daniel Hill is a guy who's worked in corporate sustainability, and he created this thing that went viral. You actually can sign up as a mentee or a mentor, and you can chat with a climate professional. So I'm signed up as a mentor. And, but there are other people like you can sign, and you can have one-on-one chats, and that's pretty cool. So you could check out Open Door Climate. Green Jobs Network, they have nice job postings. And then there's a whole bunch of green groups. The groups on LinkedIn, I don't know that it depends on the group, how active they are. So you can use your judgment there. Okay. And then here's some other things. Top Voices Green. There are a set of global climate leaders. A couple years ago, I worked with the marketing team at LinkedIn, and we went and looked all around the world who was posting the most really useful knowledge about climate. And so those are links to some of those people, and you can just follow them and it'll come in your feed. Then there's newsletters, and two of my favorites, but again, it's corporate sustainability. It's Katharine Hayhoe. Do you guys know Katharine? Super interesting. She's she's on the board, I think, of EDF. And she's a legit scientist. She is, world renowned for her science, but she's also married to an evangelical minister and lives in Texas. And so she's speaking to that choir. Not our choir, but she's the one who talks about how God wants us to be good stewards of this earth. And as right-leaning Christians, we should view that as, climate and protecting the planet should be deep in our hearts as one of our responsibilities. So she's doing a really good job of opening up those hearts and minds. But she has a very cool newsletter. It's bad news, good news, or maybe it's good news, bad news every week, which is entertaining. And then this guy named Tim Mohan, who he talks about changes for corporate sustainability in terms of reporting requirements and all kinds of stuff. There's also, more generically, it's not for sustainability leaders, for everybody, LinkedIn Career Guidance Hub. You guys should check out there because you can do practice interviews. It can help you refine your resumes. There's all kinds of stuff on there. So the links are in there. And then I think that might be it. Oh, okay. So here's the checklist. You can do one or all or anything in between, but I just wanted to give you some links. Some of it is stuff we talked about today, and some of it is a few extra things because I wanted to leave enough time for just open-ended questions. But yeah,
Will we have access to this?
yeah, Allison will share the slides with you.
Thank you.
And the links are in there. So now I want to hear, Allison, there were some questions, but we can just go live with questions first.
Yeah, I'll open the chat on here too.
Yeah. Any questions? Yes.
I have a couple questions.
Okay.
Okay, I guess the first thing that I was wondering is I feel like just being on LinkedIn, I feel like a lot of people, whenever they make posts, they use the same type of language and formatting and
Yeah.
verbiage.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, with everything having such a similar vibe, I guess, how would you recommend people set themselves apart, like really differentiate themselves on LinkedIn?
Yeah, because I've noticed that more and more because they're using ChatGPT to, right? And they're like 2 sentences and then a gap and then 2 sentences and a gap
Yes.
and little. So I mean, at first that was what's setting them apart, but now that's kind of the norm. I don't think you have to do that. Just be yourself, you know? Maybe it's just 3 sentences. Maybe it's a video. You know, videos where you really, it's just you, right? It's not you copying anybody else. Or a photo. So I would say you don't have to follow that because it does look like more and more of it is kind of generic. That's my take on it.
Okay. I will keep that in mind. I guess that kind of goes to my next question, which is when posting on LinkedIn, how, like, what would you, and even with networking in general, I feel like a struggle that I personally have is teetering the line between being professional and being like friendly and approachable and a normal human being. So when posting on LinkedIn, how do you feel like you can gauge what post is personal enough to be on your LinkedIn without crossing too much?
Yeah, because in general, it's the topics are professional.
Yes.
Every once in a while, you'll see like Jonathan Foley. Do you guys know who Jonathan Foley is? You should follow him. He's a thought leader. He used to run the California Academy of Sciences, and now he runs Drawdown, Project Drawdown. Do you guys know that? What Drawdown is? You should look at that too. It's 100 solutions that are available now to, you know, climate. So he speaks all the time. He goes to COP. Anyway, he also suffers from depression, and he had to take some time off work. And so he was not on LinkedIn. And when he came back, he made it personal, very professionally done. But he said, this is where I was. I had to regroup. Sometimes in climate, things feel dark. And I have this predisposition to depression. And he shared how he pulled himself out of it. So again, it was that giver thing. Like he said, I know I'm not the only one who suffers with this. So in the spirit of professional sharing, here's what's been helpful to me. Please put in the chat what's been helpful to you. That's different than what you might see on TikTok or Instagram, where you're like, they're in the bed and they're like, I haven't gotten out of my sweats for 2 weeks, you know. So I guess that's just one example that comes to mind. You don't, I think most of the time it's professional topics, but you can talk about it in a personal way.
I think that's what I struggle with.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, I've been trying to be more active on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And Earth Day is coming up.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my gosh, and on my Instagram, I normally will post a collage for Earth Day of all my favorite memories of being in nature.
Yeah.
And I was like, is that something that's too personal?
I don't think so, because it's really core to your career,
Yes.
it is the topic.
Yeah.
We want to protect this earth. You could elevate that by saying, this is Earth Month, because I always talk about Earth Month now. At LinkedIn, we have like a month-long thing. We did all kinds of stuff. It's Earth Month. I've been thinking about the state of the planet, and here's what I'm going to do. This is what's going to bring me joy and make me feel like on an individual level, I'm having an impact this next month, and then just share some photos or something. Now, again, you're hearing Peggy's voice, right? That might not be how Leela talks to the world, right? So it has to be in your voice. That's why you can't just take ChatGPT and say, write the post for me. If you do that, always edit, because it's so obvious when you don't.
Oh my gosh.
But I mean, I think it's more just like, yeah, just put your personal, professional. That's my take. Now, you guys, you're a different generation. So again, take my thoughts with a grain of salt. You guys are used to all kinds of different interactions, but I would say that's what I would suggest. Yeah, and definitely this would be a great chance for all of you to practice posting something. And what happens when you repost is it won't go viral. You can tag people and do hashtags in your comments, but LinkedIn's algorithms won't have it go viral. If you post something originally and you tag and hashtag, it can get elevated and boosted much more easily. So this would be a good chance to just give it a try. Maybe it's just this Earth Day. I can't stop thinking about the ocean. And this year they had for the first time, a treaty with protected reserves around the world. And I'm so excited about that. Or, gosh, I'm going to dedicate myself even more to learning what I can so I can, so you could get personal that way, right? You're the ocean guy.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, any more? Yeah.
So earlier you were talking about like green skills and green talents. In your opinion, what is the best way to showcase those on LinkedIn? I know that there's a skills section, but is there something else?
Yes. Upload stuff, evidence, right? So, you might not think you have any, but you do. So I'm going to talk a little bit about skills because you guys are, it's a tough job market, right? And it is a lot about your connections in your communities and your skills. And I think when I was hiring people in a corporate role, that might be different than some of the roles you're looking at, but you have to have some basic understanding of the climate issues and solutions, right? So I should say all of you, should probably have a greenhouse gas accounting course under your belt. Just know what scope 1, 2, and 3 are and know what embodied carbon is. You don't have to be an expert at all. You just have to know the vocabulary and understand these are the issues. You're also trying to solve for water and waste and circularity and clean energy. But the most pressing, scary thing right now is climate. So I would say that's one thing I would recommend. And you can, WRI has a course. LinkedIn, I don't think they go deep enough. But and then the other thing, who's doing business? Yeah. So I always suggest it's really helpful to have a very basic financial accounting course. And I'm not talking about green skills. Do you notice? Well, the greenhouse gas accounting for sure. And I'll tell you why. When I got hired into LinkedIn, I sat just like from here to there to the CFO, Chief Financial Officer. And if I wanted to get anything done there, I had to be able to tell James Chong why that was a good idea from a financial standpoint. And so I had to understand he's managing an income statement and it can't be a negative at the bottom. It has to have a profit. And so he's managing expenses, he's managing revenues, and I had to do one of two things. I had to convince him it would somehow increase revenues or customer loyalty, or it would decrease expenses. And it was okay if it took a payback period of years. Like we built a completely net zero energy building. Payback period was 10 years, which is time. But at least I was able to have that conversation with him and say, if we put solar on the roof, it's going to cost this much. If we put LED lighting in, if we use the sustainable recyclable carpeting, those all have a cost. But over time, the savings you're going to have in maintenance and electricity bills, whatever, so it's just an example. I thought, well, maybe when I leave corporate, then I'm not going to need that. But I'm now on the board of 3 nonprofits, and 2 of them, I've had to use every bit of accounting I knew, because one of them ran into a total cash crunch. They couldn't pay payroll because the federal government had pulled back grants, right? So I had to really dig into our financial statements and understand, how do we speed up our collection of accounts receivable and slow down our payment of accounts payable? And these are not complicated things, right? It's common sense. It's just the vocabulary for it. Yeah. And so take it with a grain of salt, but those 2 things could be really helpful to you at some point in your career. And then in terms of green skills, like, it just depends on what you want to do. Do you want to be the legal advocate with Earth Justice and Ceres? Okay, it's law then. Do you want to be the social media person? Sustainability has not done a very good job of convincing the general public to get on board, right? So you guys, you see that first slide I had? It's like, you are the hope of our future. And you're in, this field. And I talked this morning, I was with the journalist students. You guys have to do a better job of storytelling. So maybe that's your angle in. Maybe it's economics, maybe you're the one looking at, how trade patterns are changing, sustainability and supply chains and all that stuff. There's a million ways in. I used to say the earth is hiring. And a lot of different skills are needed, but we need everybody to get on board. So, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, I kind of forgot what your question was. It's something about green skills.
Yeah, how to best showcase.
Oh, how do you showcase them? Yeah, so can you think of an example of what you've done that you could upload? A photo, a flyer, an event you organized, an article that you wrote, a video, white paper.
Maybe a class project.
A class project is perfect. Yes. Yeah. And that just makes you more interesting when they're looking at different people. You like to see those things when you're looking at people. Yeah. So don't hesitate. Do it. Yeah. You're just the top of the top, right? You guys are at an amazing university, and you obviously are really talented, or you wouldn't have gotten in. So we need you, and it's urgent. So please apply all your superpowers to this.
Well, thank you, Peggy. Any other last, I know we're a little,
Oh, we went over.
oh, no, that's okay. Any other last questions? I'm sure.
Like, you have our hand raised there.
Oh, yeah, Max.
Oh, yeah, Max.
Hey, thanks, Peggy. This was great, really informative. Really appreciate it. Question just as sort of to my personal situation. I'm transitioning mid-career. I've been working in advertising and marketing, and I'm currently getting my BA in sustainability, and want to move into a role where I can leverage my design and storytelling skills, but in service of fighting climate change, decarbonization, particularly interested in clean energy. And I struggle both on LinkedIn and as well as on my resume in how to effectively tell that pivot story and in a way that people still know who I am, and I kind of don't get stuck in between worlds. And would just love to hear your thoughts on that.
Do you have a dream job that you could envision? Like, what would be the function and where? And I'm happy to talk with you offline about this too, but I have two ideas for you. But what would be your dream job?
Well, I'm in Southern California. We have a lot of solar and wind here, and I'd love to see myself in a role where I'm in between, like, the policy and communication space, telling the story of why green energy is viable, both from a climate sense as well as from make the business case for it.
Well, this could be a longer conversation, but a couple things that come to mind initially. So, are you familiar with CCE's community something energy? So
No.
Throughout California, there are different organizations that have been stood up to deliver clean power through the existing grid. So it's called Clean Power SF in San Francisco. It's called Silicon Valley Clean Energy. I know there's one down in SoCal, but I don't know what it's called.
There
And
is. We
basically-
have San
Yeah.
Diego Community Power is our
Yeah,
local
so
one here.
I would just have a chat with somebody there about what are, and you're there to be a solutions provider. So, I mean, I guess the question, like from a sales standpoint, you want to find out what are their pain points? Like how are they, what kind of pain are they experiencing that you can help them solve, right? What kind of communication is not working? What are their goals to reach more subscribers or people or whatever? That would be one thought. And then the other is there are two people you could follow on LinkedIn, but actually then even reach out to them. One is Chris Hauer, Hower, and he
Does he have a podcast?
he has a background in communications, and then he started this. He's like all about communicating sustainabilty.
Yeah.
And so he shows up at the Green Biz events and stuff. But he might be willing to do an informational interview with you. And then the other one is Solitaire Townsend. And I think she's in London. She's amazing. And she comes from your world and she's all about climate communication. So I would follow them and try to get them to, pay attention to you on LinkedIn, like try and have at least a chat over LinkedIn with them. But you have an amazing thing to offer. We're not doing a good job with communications at all. And somebody who knows how to reach consumers and companies, that's amazing. Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, you guys are busy. You got things to do.
Thank you,
places
Peggy,
to
so
go.
much for being here.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Christina and Allison for organizing.
Yeah, we'll follow up with the slides and some other events
Yeah.
we have coming up. Our career advising team is always here if you need help. Christina, Eli Online, Mary. So yeah, thank you all. Have a good weekend.
Happy Good Friday. Happy Friday. Sure, if you celebrate that.
Sorry, I'm just. I don't. 16.
No.
This is like,